When people ask how I found out my wife was cheating on me, I always say, "My dog told me." But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. I was married to Susie for 4 years when I discovered she was cheating. I am the hotel manager of a nice family-owned hotel located on the Space Coast of Florida. I started working at this hotel when I was in high school. Now 12 years later, I run the place. I love it. My dream is to one day own a hotel just like this. I met my wife Susie while I was in junior college taking classes in hotel management. She was studying secretarial science. We dated for a year and then married. She got a job working for an engineering company that builds things that go to the International Space Station. We bought a house and decided to put off having kids for a few years. Our house has a big backyard, and I wanted a dog. Susie liked dogs, so there were no objections from her. But she let me know in no uncertain terms it would be my dog. She would play with it, but I would be responsible for its care. I made it known at work that I was in the market for a dog, and one of my employees said he had the perfect pet for me. His female mini schnauzer had given birth to a litter of puppies, and he was selling them. He went on and on about how this breed would be perfect for me. I decided to have a look, and one day when the pups were weaned, I followed him to his house. There in his backyard sat his wife playing with 5 little 8-week-old pups. They were all busy wrestling with each other and did not seem to pay me any attention. That is, until this one little black puppy saw me. He left his brothers and sisters and came directly to me. He cried until I picked him up. I played with him for a few minutes, then sat him down. He was not having it. He cried until I picked him up again. "Looks like he picked you," said my friend's wife. That settled it. I bought the little fellow and took him home with me. I played with him that evening and then made him a bed on the patio. That did not work. He cried and howled until I had to let him inside the house. He slept on one of my old shirts next to the bed for a few months. Then when he was old enough to jump up on the bed, he slept at my feet. My wife was moving up at work. She was made executive assistant to the CEO of the company. This guy, Paul Jennings, is not only the CEO, but he is an engineer and is the head of the design department. He's about 50 years old and married with 3 kids, ages 7, 10, and 12 years old. He married late in life to the daughter of the founder of the company. That guy is dead now, and Paul's wife is the sole owner. This company has made millions working with NASA developing all sorts of tools and devices that go into space. Now they are working on the Moon Project. That's what Susie goes on and on about. Paul is so smart, he will be remembered in history like Einstein. I doubt it. Paul is a graduate of the University of Florida and a big fan and supporter of the football team. I had seen his office when I attended a Christmas party held at the company. He was definitely a big fan of Florida football. Everything he had in that office came from the fan shop at the university. Back to how I caught my wife cheating. I came home from work one day and went to find Cisco. That's my dog, named after the head of the space station on the series Deep Space Nine, the Cisco. He likes playing in the backyard sometimes during the day, and I had installed a doggy door so he could come and go as he liked. Today, he met me with something in his mouth. When I took it from him, I suspected my wife was cheating with her boss and at my house. What Cisco had brought me was a pair of University of Florida boxer shorts. They were blue with little orange alligators all over them. I love Susie, but I am not going to put up with a cheater. But what if there is some logical explanation? Or maybe she has a clever lie prepared about how Paul's underwear ended up in Cisco's possession. I need to make sure before I make a big mistake. At the hotel, we have cameras everywhere. The lobby, the halls, the beach area, and the parking lot are all covered, so not only our guests can feel safe, but it limits our liability. I have an IT guy who I contract this work out to. I contacted him the next morning. After swearing him to secrecy, I explained my situation. I figured that since Susie knows I am in the motel business, and that I know everyone in a good 75-mile radius of here, she and Paul did not want to risk going to a motel and one of my friends calling me. That's why they are using my house. My IT friend said he could hide cameras so well that no one would ever suspect they were there. I took off work and watched as he installed cameras all over my house. Every room had a camera, even the bathrooms. There were cameras at the front door and the patio. I could access them anytime on my phone, and everything was uploaded to the cloud. The next day, I watched Cisco chase birds in the backyard, and then he took a nap on my bed. Susie came home a little before I left the hotel. She changed clothes and started supper. A typical workday afternoon. The next day, I was busy with some tourists in the lobby, and then I helped redesign a flower bed in front of the hotel. At lunch, I checked my phone expecting to see Cisco napping on my bed. Wrong. Susie was naked on her hands and knees while Paul stood beside the bed, also naked. His flabby stomach and wrinkled 50-year-old back made me wonder what my 24-year-old wife saw in him. His face was red as a rose. The guy did not look healthy. She rolled him over and kissed his mouth using plenty of tongues. "Maybe you should see a doctor and get some of those little blue pills," she asked. "I'll do that. Simmons in accounting said they worked for him. He buys them off the internet." "Why don't you shower first? I'll wait." He went into the bathroom while she lay on the bed. Paul came out of the bathroom, dressed, and left. Susie sat on the commode and then showered. She changed the sheets on the bed, then she left. Cisco came into the room, sniffed around, then took his nap. I went to the cloud and watched the events from when they drove up in separate cars. They went into the bedroom and shut the door. "Did you ever find my boxers? I know that dog took them," he asked. "No, but don't worry. If he took them, he probably buried them in the backyard. He is always digging holes and burying things." "That's fine, I have others. Are you sure your husband does not suspect? You know about us?" "Oh, hell no. He is clueless. All that dumb guy thinks or talks about is that stupid little hotel. He doesn't suspect a thing. What about your wife?" "About the same. That cold woman talks about the kids and what they did that day from the time I get home until we go to bed. We never make love anymore, and rarely do I even get a good night kiss. That's what makes what we have so special. No one is the wiser, and no one gets hurt." They proceeded to get undressed, and she got on the bed. I watched again as I thought about what I was going to do. Susie is obliviously not in love with the guy. It is not his size, and he does not make her feel good. So why is she doing this? I waited and watched for 2 more weeks while I got everything lined up for my great escape. This seems to be a Monday and Thursday thing with them. Why? I do not know and really don't care. It was the next week that I saw him go into the bathroom before they started. He swallowed a blue pill. His performance was not that much better, but he did the deed before calling it quits. I did notice that on Monday and Thursday nights, Susie seemed especially in the mood. I figured that old Paul was still not getting the job done even with the blue pills. I took advantage of that. After 2 weeks, I had enough footage on video to put my plan into action. I took off Thursday and waited around the corner from my house. Right on time, they showed up. When I saw Paul take the blue pill and then get naked, I pulled up in front of my house. By the time I walked into my bedroom, Susie was on her hands and knees. "Why don't you two stop what you are doing and come into the living room? We need to talk." Susie screamed and tried to cover herself. I guess she thought I was going to take a picture. She would find out in a few minutes it was way too late to be worried about that. Paul turned away and did not say a word. I waited about 5 minutes for them to get dressed and then come into the living room. I could hear muttered voices but could not make out what they were saying. When they walked in, I was sitting in the only chair. That meant they had to sit on the couch, together, facing the television. I hit play on the remote. There, on the 75-inch flat screen, was a compilation of the last 3 weeks that I had recorded. I thought I had done a good job with the editing, and the quality was very good also. You could hear every grunt and scream. After about 2 minutes, Susie asked me to stop it. I pushed stop, then eject. I took the disc out and handed it to Paul. "This one I made for you. Susie, yours is on the dining room table. I have the original and there are no more copies, I assure you. Paul, I am willing to sell you the original if you like." "How much?" was all he said. $500,000, I replied. That's outrageous. I think it's cheap. If your wife got a copy of this, she would divorce you. Her alimony would be what? $25,000 or $30,000 a month. And child support for 3 kids, another $10,000 a month? You're a millionaire, Paul. The courts would look at your last 3 years' income and may even order you to pay more. But then your wife owns the company, right? You may be out of a job. $500,000 is cheap considering all the problems I could cause you. Where is he going to get that kind of money? Susie is thinking of him, not our marriage. Paul has that and more squirreled away. Right, Paul? In those NASA contracts, there are hammers for the space station that cost $10,000. Those same hammers cost $10 at Home Depot. He never answered my question. When do you want the money? He asked. I guess he does not want to talk about the price of hammers either. Within 2 days. Wire it to this account. I handed him wiring instructions. Call it consulting fees on the Moon project, I laughed. Can I trust you to give me the original and that there are no more copies? He asked. You'll have to trust me. But I assure you after I get the money, neither you nor Susie will ever see me again. Jimmy, Susie screamed. Let me explain. I'm going back to the office. I will tell everyone that you called in sick, he answered. He turned to me. I am going to trust you to keep your word. I will, I replied. We did not shake hands. As he turned to leave, I did notice that the little blue pill was still working. Jimmy, let me explain. Please? There is no love between Paul and me. Paul is a great man, a great inventor. History will remember him as such. I just want to be part of it somehow, like a royal mistress to a king. That's all. You better hope Paul wires the money. If not, the queen is going to find out about the royal mistress. When that happens, the mistress gets her head chopped off. I called Cisco and we left for the motel. I already had my suitcases packed and a room reserved for us. We are a pet-friendly hotel. I waited until Paul wired the money. Then one evening I sent my IT friend to the house to retrieve the cameras. Susie acted surprised. Where did she and Paul, those great intellects, think I got the video? My friend who sold me Cisco agreed to board him for a week, and I left for a country in South America that most Americans are afraid to visit. There on a bad road, I found the 30-room hotel to be just like it was advertised on the internet. The owner had died and his elderly wife wanted to sell. She was asking what amounted to about $300,000 for it. I thought it to be underpriced, and I paid her the asking price. It was just what I had dreamed about. I flew back to the States, and in 2 weeks, Cisco and I had set up housekeeping in my hotel on the beach. I started advertising in Europe, and within a month, I had reservations coming in. 2 months later, we welcomed our first guests. Cisco and I enjoyed living there. We took walks on the beach in the early morning, played in the hotel pool in the late afternoon, and learned to speak a little Spanish. One morning, Cisco was supervising me cleaning the pool when I received a call on my radio that I was needed at the front desk. It sounded urgent, so Cisco and I hurried to the lobby. There stood Susie with a suitcase and a carry-on bag. I imagine you are surprised to see me. I am. Leave your bags here and follow me, please, I replied. I led her into the now empty restaurant. Breakfast was over and our guests were all out on the beach. I motioned for my cook to bring us both a coffee, then looked at Susie. So? No. Good to see you? Or maybe how have you been? Nothing at all? She asked. Why are you here, Susie? Jimmy? You know I never stopped loving you. Even after I divorced you for abandoning me, that was Paul's idea. I still love you, she answered. Speaking of old Paul, how are you guys? Still going to the moon? Paul's dead, Jimmy, she replied. What happened? Did this wife catch you two together and shoot him? I promise I kept my word. If she found out, it was not from me. Paul and I were at our house. He took too many blue pills and had a heart attack. The doctor said with his heart condition he should never have been taking those pills. Anyway, I had to call 911 and, long story short, his wife found out and fired me. Then she sold the company. I went to work as a secretary for an insurance company. I had to sell the house since my salary now is way below what I was making with Paul. This is my first vacation, and I thought I would use it to come see if, you know, maybe you and I could try and get back together. What do you say? Let's give it a try. About that time, Greta opened the door to the restaurant. Let me explain what Susie is looking at. Greta is German. She stands about 5 foot 8 inches tall and has blonde hair and blue eyes. She has on a see-through beach cover-up and the bottoms of a black bikini but no top. Both she and her friend Ingrid, who could pass as her twin, have been guests here at the hotel for the past 5 months. She told me she hates the cold weather in Berlin. Greta is what some people call a Nepo baby, trust fund baby. I call her my spoiled rich girlfriend. And yeah, Ingrid and her sleep with me. But before I go any further, I want you to know that I have no illusions about Greta and me. One day in the not-too-distant future, she will get tired of the sun, the beach, or maybe me. She and Ingrid will pack up and fly off. I will never see them again. That is what happened with the Swedish girl before them and the French divorcee before her. Understand? There you are. Ingrid and I have been looking all over for you. We are ready for that snorkeling trip to the reef you promised us. I looked back at Susie. I believe we are full this week, but check at the front desk and they will find you a room at another hotel in town. Jose will give you a ride. Have a good life. I stood and Greta moved into my arms and kissed my lips. Who is that alte Frau? Someone looking for a meal ticket, I replied. Meal ticket? I am not familiar with that term. Not important, I answered. Ingrid met us in the lobby with Cisco and we walked to the beach. I carried Cisco through the breakers to the boat. He loves to ride. I never saw Susie again. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.